Guys, I will be dictating two passages every day, one general and one legal. So subscribe to my channel for latest updates. 5 seconds. Sir, in May 2019, Prime Minister Modi received a massive mandate to form the government again. With renewed vigor under his leadership, we commit ourselves to serve the people of India with all humility and dedication. This is the budget to boost their incomes and enhance their purchasing power. Only through higher growth we can achieve that and have our youth gainfully and meaningfully employed. Let our businesses be innovative, healthy, and solvent with use of technology. Of the structural reforms, the Goods and Services Tax (GST) has been the most historic in our country. Its chief architect is not with us today. I pay homage to the visionary leader, late Shri Arun Jaitley ji. At the time of rollout of GST, he had said, and I quote, "It will be an India where the center and states will work harmoniously towards the common goal of shared prosperity." The unanimity of the constitutional amendment and the consensus of the GST Council highlights that India can rise above narrow politics for the nation's interest. With the GST, neither the state nor the center loses its sovereignty. In contrast, they will pool their sovereignty on decisions on indirect taxes. True to this vision for the historic structural reform, the Goods and Services Tax has been gradually maturing into a tax that has integrated the country economically. It has consolidated numerous taxes and cesses to one tax and facilitated formalization of the economy. It has resulted in the efficiency gains in logistic and transport sectors. The turnaround time for trucks has witnessed a substantial reduction to the tune of 20% due to abolition of check post in GST. The dreaded Inspector Raj has also vanished. The former Prime Minister had once voiced a concern that the fruits of the welfare schemes were not reaching the intended citizens. The common and deserving citizen was only receiving 50 paisa of every rupee sent to him. Guided by Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas, our government and our Prime Minister added manifold speed and scaled up the implementation of schemes and programs that directly benefited the poor and the disadvantaged. I wish to list out only a few as examples: welfare schemes with direct benefit transfer (DBT) embedded in them, sanitation and water as provision of basic needs and as a measure of preventive healthcare through Ayushman Bharat, clean energy through Ujjwal and solar power, financial inclusion, credit support, insurance protection to vulnerable sections and pension scheme, digital penetration with broadband and UPI, and finally affordable housing for all through PMAY, the Prime Minister Awas Yojana. So far these being a plea that they were ready and willing to perform their part of the contract is there in the pleading we have no hesitation to conclude that this by itself is not sufficient to hold that the appellants were ready and willing in terms of Section 16C of the Specific Relief Act. This requires not only such plea but also proof of the same. Now, examining the first of the two circumstances, how could mere filing of this suit after exemption was granted be a circumstance about willingness or readiness of the plaintiff? This, at the most, could be the desire of the plaintiff to have this property. It may be for such a desire this suit was filed raising such a plea, but Section 16C of the said Act makes it clear that mere plea is not sufficient, it has to be proved. Para. In the instant case, the plaintiff has alleged that he was ready to pay Rs 35,000 to the defendants and called upon them to execute the reconveyance deed. However, in para 11 of the plaint, it is pleaded that the plaintiff was running contract business wherein he suffered heavy loss and as such he gave up the business. It is also pleaded that at present the plaintiff has no business or profession and has no source of income. He has no property, either movable or immovable. Mere plea that he is ready to pay the consideration without any material to substantiate this plea cannot be accepted. It is not necessary for the plaintiff to produce ready money, but it is mandatory on his part to prove that he has the means to generate the consideration amount. Except the statement of PW1, there is absolutely no evidence to show that the plaintiff has the means to make arrangements for payment of consideration under the reconveyance agreement. Para. It is relevant to state here that before filing the suit, the plaintiff had filed an application before the competent authority under the Karnataka Debt Relief Act seeking extinguishment of the debt and delivery of the property back to him. No doubt the application was dismissed by the authority.